childhood trauma, whether it be abuse or neglect, whether it be mental, emotional, physical, or sexual, has an insidiously detrimental impact on a person's ability to find any sort of life satisfaction or peace of mind. And the worst thing is, oftentimes a child doesn't even realize they're being traumatized. All they know is that they feel bad, and from this, they extrapolate that they must be bad, and consequently, they go into adulthood feeling this huge emptiness, this sense of worthlessness, this inability to be able to verbalize their needs, this inability to trust other people, to know that other people will try to meet their needs, and they just feel completely dysregulated. They're not able to cope with their emotions, and consequently, they are very, very likely to have to develop some sort of coping mechanism, whether it be perfectionism, whether it be drug or alcohol addiction, whether it be sex addiction, porn addiction, some sort of avoidance. And again, we tend to think of the grittier addictions when we talk about coping mechanisms. However, oftentimes it can be an addiction to work, it can be an addiction to just being an asshole and not treating people very well, being unkind. And these are all ways we find of coping, of not having to deal with our internal, I suppose, sensations, the emotional sensations that we're experiencing. Because when we are traumatized as children, oftentimes that trauma is trapped in the body. It stays with us and we carry it with us. And consequently, we're so easily triggered in adulthood because everything feels like it's extremely dangerous. And we don't know the difference between true threats and what is our conditioning, what is there because of our past experiences. We feel very unsafe and we feel this massive sense of shame because we cannot understand why, first of all, our needs weren't met in childhood, but also we feel a sense of shame in our day-to-day life because we just think that there's something inherently wrong with us, that we're inadequate in some way, that we're not worth I suppose anybody else's time. And this can be really hard to carry internally, that sense of self-loathing. And oftentimes we find ourselves projecting onto other people and lashing out at other people in complete denial about what it is that we feel about ourselves, and just taking it out on somebody because we cannot hold on to the feeling and tolerate the feeling inside of us. We also tend to recreate what it is that we never resolved. So just say, for example, you didn't have your emotional needs met in your relationship with your mother, then the likelihood is that you would get yourself into relationships and create a pattern of being in relationships where your emotional needs weren't met, and you would continuously feel the hurt, feel the pain of your childhood without ever getting any resolution, without ever feeling like you were, enjoying the relationship or getting anything out of the relationship. And it's not so much the other person's fault, it's just the fact that you have been drawn to this person who replicates, whether in your own mind or whether in reality, your childhood experience. And I suppose it's kind of recognizing that you will continue to live like this until you undergo the process of healing. And healing isn't a particularly nice journey. It means having to take the lid off all of those emotional experiences that you have tried to keep under wraps for so long. But the thing is, they're not going anywhere. I mean, emotions are an energy. They have to be released at some stage. And in order for us to be able to move forward with any sort of peace or contentment, we need to be able to resolve them. Now, that doesn't mean that your life is going to all of a sudden be this utopian heaven. You're still going to have to deal with day-to-day shit. You're always going to have had that past. It's not going anywhere. But you can learn to recognize the impact that is having on your day-to-day happiness and move forward with a little bit more peace and a little bit more clarity. You see, the thing is, the brain is completely, they call it neuroplasticity. It's basically the brain's ability to rewire, and in order for us to rewire our neural pathways, we need to learn new ways of coping. We need to recognize the patterns that we have that are maladaptive and dysfunctional and causing us harm, and become very consciously aware, and also try to do things differently. And as I said, it's a lot of work. It's, you know, it's something that takes a lot of time, a lot of conscious effort, and a lot of discipline. However, what choice do you have? Do you want to go through the rest of your life just basically taking the pain out on yourself and taking the pain out on other people? Or do you want to face into it and, you know, experience the pain, but also be able to release it, to resolve it, and to move forward with your life with some sort of sense of having dealt with what it is that you've been carrying, and offloading of the weight of your childhood? And I mean, you deserve it. You did not come on this earth to live a life of pain and suffering and hatred and resentment and anger, which is how a person who has been traumatized feels. They basically feel angry with themselves, they feel angry with the world, they feel unsafe, they feel resentful, and it's such a huge burden to carry, and it's not yours. I mean, you don't have to carry it with you. However, that being said, it can take a little bit of time for you to even get to the place where you recognize that this is something that you need to undergo. But if you feel you have past issues that are basically pissing all over every area of your life, for want of a better word, that are impacting on your ability to connect with others, that are impacting on your self-worth, that are making you feel like as if you don't deserve a great life, that are making you feel resentful of other people, that are making you just not enjoy your day-to-day life. I mean, ask yourself, are you joyful? Do you have a sense of meaning? Do you have a sense of purpose? Or are you just continuously trying to push down feelings, find ways of not having to experience what it is that you're experiencing inside? And one of the hardest things to do can be to recognize how much you actually dislike yourself. And I'm not talking about, kind of, I don't like this part of my body. I mean, complete and utter self-loathing, not even knowing who you are internally. And I mean, that is just a life sentence that you do not have to carry. So if you'd like to work on something with me, if you'd like to resolve your past issues, if you'd like to unravel the patterns that you are recreating in your day-to-day life, get in touch with me on the website. It's fundamentals.ie.